Good morning and welcome. This is your Stylo News Intelligence Update. Today is Friday, the 10th of February, 2026. We're glad you could join us. We're tracking some really important developing stories today, all happening across Europe's, well, its rapidly evolving digital domain.
And a quick note, this update is brought to you by ProWave AI. They're the developers of Stylo Intel Ops and the Stylo News AI-powered open-source intelligence platform.
So let's get right to it. We're going to be focusing on a pretty critical question today. How is it that the foundational elements of our society, things like the power that heats our homes, or even the spirit of the Olympic Games, how are they becoming the new front lines in a digital conflict?
Okay, our lead story this morning begins with what can only be described as a brazen and destructive attack on a nation's critical infrastructure. So let's turn first to the energy grids of Poland.
So, picture this. It's late December 2025. Severe winter weather has gripped the country, and right then, Polish authorities detect a series of highly coordinated cyber attacks. And their target? The nation's energy infrastructure, right at its most vulnerable moment. The potential impact here was just massive. They targeted a key combined heat and power plant, which directly threatened the supply for nearly 500,000 consumers. And this was all happening during the absolute coldest part of the year.
There was really no ambiguity about the intent behind these attacks. Polish cybersecurity authorities, that's CERT Polska, they described the whole operation in very stark terms. They said it was, and I'm quoting here, akin to deliberate arson. So you see, this wasn't about spying. The goal here was tangible, physical disruption.
Now, figuring out exactly who is behind attacks like this is always complex, but the evidence we have points towards a very sophisticated, state-level operation. As you can see here, Poland's own CERT Polska has linked the incident to groups they associate with Russia's FSB, that's their primary security agency. But at the same time, independent analysis from the firm ESET suggests the involvement of Sandworm, a different group, one tied to Russia's GRU, their military intelligence arm. This dual attribution is really significant. It suggests a possibly coordinated effort by multiple state actors, not just a single rogue element.
But here's the thing. What happened in Poland isn't happening in a vacuum. Not at all. It actually represents just a single flashpoint on a much, much wider digital front that's stretching across the entire continent.
So let's just take a step back and look at the broader landscape. In France, you've got young hackers hitting government sites. Over in Germany, the central bank is dealing with thousands of attacks per minute. Think about that. Austria has pinpointed remote work as a major vulnerability for their businesses. An internal report in Russia finds that over 90% of its own corporate networks are highly vulnerable. And then in Iran, the state broadcaster was just hacked to display opposition messaging. It's clear the threats are diverse, they're constant, and they're coming from all directions.
So, in response to all of this, nations are fundamentally rewriting their defense playbooks. What we're seeing is a major strategic shift, away from just simple defense and towards a continent-wide race for what's called comprehensive cyber resilience.
And this shift is absolutely crucial. It's all about moving away from a reactive posture, just cleaning up the mess after an attack, and moving to one of proactive resilience. The new focus is on building digital fortresses, if you will, that are designed to anticipate and withstand threats right from the outset. So there's a huge emphasis now on prediction, on defense exercises, and in some cases, even on developing offensive capabilities.
And believe me, this isn't just theory, it's already translating into concrete action. For example, Germany is planning a whole new hybrid threat defense center, and they're even debating the legality of so-called return strikes. Denmark is pumping 211 million kroner into a new national strategy. Switzerland is proposing a massive 31 billion franc increase to its defense budget. And just recently, Germany and Israel conducted Blue Horizon, their very first joint cyber defense exercise.
All of this brings us to our special report for today. We're going to look at how this new reality is impacting one of the world's most visible and, frankly, symbolic events, the upcoming Olympic Games.
So just recently, in early February, Italian intelligence agencies managed to thwart a pretty significant cyber attack. Now, the targets here were the Italian Foreign Ministry and, very pointedly, infrastructure related to the 2026 Winter Olympics in Milan and Cortina. Italy has since gone on the record and publicly attributed the attack to the Russia-affiliated group known as No Name 057.
It's interesting. The response to these digital threats has a very real, very physical component. On top of bolstering their cyber defenses, Italy has announced the deployment of 6,000 security personnel.
That includes specialized units, all there to physically protect the Olympic venues. This whole situation presents such a stark contrast to the ideals of the games themselves. As these digital skirmishes are going on, the president of Italy, Sergio Mattarella, has issued a powerful call for an Olympic truce. He's reminding the world that the games are meant to be, in his words, a unifying force for peace in difficult times.
So what's the big takeaway here? Well, the events we've just reviewed, everything from Poland's power grid to Italy's Olympic preparations, they all signal a very challenging new reality. It's this: critical infrastructure and major global events are no longer just physical assets. They are now active fronts in a digital war.
These are really just the latest developments on this constantly evolving digital battleground. To truly get a handle on the strategic implications of these attacks and what they mean for the future of international security, we really invite you to listen to our full intelligence briefing. That full briefing is titled Digital Battlegrounds, Energy Grids, Olympics, and the New Cyber War.
And it's easy to find. You can look for the Stylo News Intel update on your favorite podcast channel, or you can just follow the direct link that's available with this post.
Thank you for joining us for this update. For AI-powered news on demand, we do invite you to subscribe to Stylo News over at stylonews.com.